play by Bertolt Brecht. I don't know that I would ever have had a chance to see it if they hadn't produced it. I'm thinking also of Charter Theater, which does original work and does a wonderful job with original work. They're also here in Virginia. They are performing, or they have been performing recently at Theater on the Run in the Shirlington area. They do fabulous, fabulous work. I could go on and on because there are so many wonderful theaters. The Roundhouse Theater in Bethesda, fabulous, fabulous theater. There are so many really, really top-notch theaters. We are blessed. I consider DC to be, per capita, the best theater city in America. Of course, New York has more theater, but New York has a much, much larger population base, whereas DC has far fewer people, but really top-notch theater. And a lot of people attending theater in the DC area. It's wonderful. It's not just the Kennedy Center, and I suppose I should mention the Kennedy Center, which also has wonderful productions, but the neighborhoods in the DC area, that's where to go for really wonderful theater at a very, very affordable price.
What do you think about the Folger Theater?
The Folger Theater is actually my neighborhood theater aside from Arena. Arena is a little bit closer to me, but the Folger is also walking distance, and it's a wonderful theater. It's a fabulous theater. It does not tend to do modern drama. And what I have specialized in with Footlights is discussing modern drama. The Folger tends to do Shakespeare, and of course, we have the Shakespeare Theater Company on 7th Street, which is the finest Shakespeare theater in the country and one of the 3 finest Shakespeare theaters in the world, with an outstanding artistic director, Michael Kahn, just a genius at especially Shakespeare. So we actually have a wealth even of Shakespeare on stage in the DC area, with several theaters with Shakespeare in the name, including the Folger, including the Washington Shakespeare Company, and including, of course, the Shakespeare Theater Company.
Can you tell our viewers how they can get to your website?
We're at www.footlightsdc.org. And there's several buttons on the website, including one that would allow them to sign up for our online list. And our online list not only promotes events involving Footlights, but we have a number of people connected to the Washington theater scene who also subscribe to our online list, who very often post to the online list discount and free ticket offers. So if you're interested in going to the theater and not spending a lot of money, signing up to the Footlights list is one way to do that, because you will see on a regular basis invitations to go to the theater, cheap or free.
What would be the motivation that would prompt someone to make their drama available free, so that someone could go see it without paying any money?
Oh, there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, the bottom line is performers perform to have an audience. No one goes into theater to make money or to become rich. People go into theater because they have an audience and they love to perform. A lot of theaters, especially early in the run, want to build an audience. They want to see how their performances are coming across to a bunch essentially of strangers who are sitting out there not connected with the theater, not connected with this particular production. They don't have a vested interest in liking it or disliking it. They want to figure out the timing. Actors want to know exactly how particular lines work. And they also want to generate some buzz about the production so that people are talking about it. Those are only 2 of the reasons, but there are many, many reasons. I mentioned Catalyst Theater earlier. Catalyst Theater has just announced the end of last season that every single ticket is $10 for their productions. That's one of the best theater deals you can have in DC theater. Spend $10 and see a live performance. Anyone who can afford to go to the movies, which are about $10 themselves now, can afford to go to live theater.
And of course, you can, I guess you could give us a contrast between the District of Columbia theater scene, the theaters in Virginia, and the theaters in Maryland.
Well, for me, the big advantage of the District of Columbia theater scene is that for people who live in the District of Columbia, it's closer. And also, most of the theaters in Washington, D.C. tend to be metro accessible, And that's not entirely true for the theaters outside. I'm very fond, for example, of theater of the First Amendment at George Mason University, where my former professor, Paul D'Andrea, teaches. It's not metro accessible, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to get to. It's a wonderful theater company, however, and they do very, very fine work there. And I also love the Olney Theater, where Jim Petosa runs the theater. They do fabulous stuff at the Olney Theater. It's also not really metro accessible, and you need a car to get there. That's really the advantage of DC theater. And of course, for the most part, the big headline theaters are in Washington, D.C., like Arena Stage and the Kennedy Center and the Shakespeare Theater Company.
Well, our guest today has been David Sobelson. He is the award recipient for the International History Week Performing Arts Award. David, it's been good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. It's fun to be here.
Welcome back. In this segment, we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Adam Cohen here with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
It's good to have you on the show.
I appreciate being here.
Let me tell you about Dr. Adam Cohen. Dr. Adam Cohen was formerly the Chief Operating Officer of Argonne National Laboratory. Currently, he is the Deputy Associate Laboratory Director for the Applied Science and Technology Group at Argonne. He has held various leadership positions at Argonne, and in addition to his research work on nuclear fuels and irradiated materials, he was involved in Argonne's environmental, safety and health, emergency management, and quality assurance efforts. Dr. Cohen holds a Bachelor of Science in Metallurgy from Columbia University, a PhD in Materials Science and Engineering from Northwestern University, and a Master of Business Administration from the University of Chicago. Now, prior to reading these sections from the various encyclopedias, before we get into that, I want to acknowledge Mr. Daniel Meyer, the archivist at the University of Chicago Library. You may contact Mr. Meyer by telephone at 773-702-8714. At the beginning of each volume of the Encyclopedia Britannica, there is an eloquent quotation which says, "Let knowledge grow from more to more, and thus be human life enriched." That's a beautiful statement. The next line says, quote, "The Encyclopedia Britannica is published with the editorial advice of the faculties of the University of Chicago." So what else does the Encyclopedia Britannica tell us that pertains to the University of Chicago? Well, the Encyclopedia Britannica has a section on William Rainey Harper, the first president of the University of Chicago. So it would be an honor to have Dr. Cohen read that section for us.
William Rainey Harper, born on July 26, 1856, New Concord, Ohio, died on January 10, 1906, Chicago, U.S. Hebraist and first president of the University of Chicago. Harper's interest in Hebraic study began in Muskingum College, New Concord, from which he graduated in 1870. In 1875, when only 19 years of age, he received his PhD at Yale for studies in the Indo-Iranian and Semitic languages. In 1880, after several years of academy teaching, he was given a professorship in Hebrew at the Baptist Union Theological Seminary in Chicago. There he founded the Hebrew Student and Hebraica and organized the American Institute of Hebrew.